Hey guys, it's me, Simona. I'm back. I haven't filmed a video in a little while. The last video you guys saw from me was a mini book haul and a TBR update. And today I'm back with something that's a little bit different. Okay, how do I say this? I'm a pretty guilty reader in the sense that I get really excited about books and then I borrow like 50 books from my friends and then I already have like 20 other books I want to read before that and then I find some new ones. So I don't necessarily read a book as soon as I borrow, and that's definitely what this video is inspired. I thought that maybe talking about all the books I've borrowed from one of my friends would encourage me to finally get them read so I can give them back. So right here beside me I have about 14 or 15 books I've borrowed from my friend. This is the same friend, by the way, that got me started on Harry Potter, and the same friend I go reading with on Mondays that I mentioned in some of my previous videos. So in this video I'm going to be talking about every single book I borrowed from her, telling you a bit about it. Some of them I know nothing about, and I want to use this video so you guys can see what other kind of books I like other than mystery and thriller, which I've obviously talked a lot about. That's the first reason, and the second reason is definitely me watching this over and realizing that I have borrowed way too many books and that I have read not enough of them, so I should definitely include a lot of these in my September to be read video and get them read because I shouldn't have her books forever. So without further ado, well, I always say that and drink coffee, so the first book I borrowed from her, this is one of the books that really is inspiring me to make this video because I borrowed this book all the way in March and I still haven't gotten around to reading it. In March I read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, which is obviously the author of this book as well, as you can see, and I loved it, and obviously I told my friend about it and she said, hey, I have another Gillian Flynn book, do you want to check it out? And I said I didn't want to check it out, but apparently I didn't really want to because it's been like 5 months and I haven't read it yet. But I'm gonna be reading it really soon. So that's Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. The reason I borrowed this book, obviously like I said, is because I loved Gone Girl, but I also just really enjoy Gillian Flynn's writing style. I feel like she's one of those authors that is able to come up with really twisted and like messed up stories and scenarios and stuff, which obviously I find really interesting because that's the kind of genre I'm really into. So I feel like this book is going to be really, really good. And also, my friend told me she had a really hard time reading this because of how like dark and twisted it is, but those are the kind of books I love. So I really think this book is right up my alley. The next book I've borrowed is Americana. The reason I borrowed this book is because last year when I was in grade 12, in English class, we had the opportunity with a group to choose a book that we should book club about. So basically, we'd set a certain goal of how many chapters we want to read, and then we'd talk about them, and so on and so on. So this was one of the books that we were able to choose, but because not enough people chose it, it ended up not being one of the ones that you could book club about, and instead we ended up doing Salvage the Bones, which I could make another video about if you guys are interested. But anyway, so ever since then I've been really wanting to read this book. A lot of people told me it's amazing. I don't know a lot about it, but because of all the recommendations, I'm really excited to read it, and I can see right here it's been one of the 10 best books of the year in New York Times. So I feel like that definitely says that it's a great book. So this is another one that I want to read. Now this one I've only borrowed recently, so it's not as bad as the previous book, but I still want to read it and give it back to her. The next book I have is called Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verges. Now I actually went to my friend's house sometime in early July, and I was telling her how I wanted to like read a whole bunch of different books, and at that one time she lent me like probably more than half of these books, so this is one of them. Now her and her sister were both saying I should be really careful with this book, and like if anything happens to it they'll kill me, so I'm gonna take away from that this is a book they really, really love, and I hope I really love it too. So that's once again Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verges. The next book I have is called The Red Tent by Anita Diamant, sorry. This is another book that I know nothing about. Again, it was just recommended to me. Her and her sister both said they loved it, so I'm sure I'll love it too, or at least I hope so. The next book is also a book I borrowed in March 6 months ago, I guess 5 months ago. So this is one of the ones I definitely should read and give back as soon as possible, and that's Old City Hall by Robert Rottenberg. I don't know a lot about this book, but I'm really excited to read it because of what my friend told me about it and how good it looks. Like, I know I'm not really supposed to judge books by their cover, but when I really like the cover, I get really excited about wanting to read it like right away. The next book I have is a bit ridiculous that I haven't read it yet because I feel like everyone's read this book. It's referenced so much in like movies and other books and stuff like that, and that is 1984 by George Orwell. I'm really excited to read this book. Like I said, I've seen it referenced in so many other books I've read, and also it's just so well known. It's a classic, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And also I love how little this tiny copy is. I want to read it. The next book I have is another book that is really surprising I haven't read yet, and that's Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now I feel like everyone has read this book. It's obviously a classic, and I'm really excited to read it as well because I'm trying to read as many English classics before I start my English classics class, which I signed up for university, but that's second semester, so I do have till like about January, I guess, to get a head start on some of those classics. And another reason I was really inspired to borrow this recently is because of the Plain Jane books, which are kind of like a spin-off of these / a retelling that's like decorated and modernized. So I feel like to read those books, I would definitely have to read the original first. The next book I have is also very surprising that I haven't read yet, and that's The Shining by Stephen King. If you guys have watched any of my other videos, you know I love mystery, you know I love thrillers, you know that Stephen King is one of my favorite authors. So how is it that I haven't read one of his really famous books? I don't know. But I'm really, really excited to read this book. I mean, everyone's like, you love Stephen King, but you haven't read The Shining. So finally, I'm going to be changing that as soon as I read this book. Also, I love the like 90s type pop-up comic situation on this cover. I really like the way it looks. And I'm really excited to read it. So that's The Shining by Stephen King. The next book I have is The Beauty of Humanity Movement by Camellia Gibb, I'm not sure. And this is one of the other books that, again, I don't know a lot about, but my friend and her sister both said this is a great book, so I'm excited to read it. This book has actually been recommended to me by a lot of people as well, and that's 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. Sorry if I totally butchered that name. But the reason I'm really excited to read this book, like I said, it's been recommended to me like a million times, but also a couple of my friends read The Kite Runner and they loved it, so I feel like this should be a book I really enjoy. And it is my friend that let me all these books. This is one of her favorite books ever, so I'm definitely really excited to check it out and see if all the hype is worth it. The next book I have is Homegoing by Ya Gayasi. First of all, can we just talk about how beautiful this cover is? All the bright oranges and yellows and reds. I'm obsessed. I don't know a lot about this book as well, but I've seen it everywhere. I see it in Indigo every time I go. I always see it on bestseller sections and stuff like that. And so many people have said they love it, so I'm really, really excited to read this. Once again, it's Homegoing by Ya Gayasi. Gorgeous. The next book I actually borrowed because it was recommended to me by some people on Instagram, and that's Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. Now, when I told my friend I wanted to borrow this, it was on her bookshelf. She said she hadn't actually read it yet, so she read it and then she lent it to me, and she said it was a really great read and that she loved it, so then obviously she lent it to me. That's why it's in this video, and I'm really, really excited to read this. I love checking out books that like people recommend to me on Instagram and stuff, because I feel like checking out books that others recommend to you is a good experience because you kind of step away from your favorite genres. So that was Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. I'm really, really excited to read this. The next book I have is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. This book is in all types of bestsellers list. It's all over Indigo. It's all over all the bookstores I go to. And I've been meaning to read it for quite some time, and my friend lent it to me. So I'm really excited to read this, and this is a memoir. And I don't think I've ever read a so I'm really excited to read this one. And last but not least, I have A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Now, this book was written about like 100 something years ago. It's very old. And the reason I borrowed this specific book is because I was actually, on a Monday we were sitting in the park reading, and my friend was reading this book, and she was kind of telling me about it, and she was saying, you know, this author uses this made-up slang, and throughout the book you figure out what all the words mean. And I was like, what are some of the, like, give me an example of some of the slang. So she gave me an example, and I realized that the like slang he uses is actually spin-off like Russian words. It's like a spin-off of the Russian language. And while my friend had to like kind of figure it out as she went along, I have a bit more understanding about the slang in this book, which is just, I get once again, the spin-off Russian, because I am Bulgarian, if you guys didn't know that. And Bulgarian is pretty similar to Russian. I mean, like, phonetically I understand a lot, but I'm not able to speak it. So I thought it would be cool to read the same book from a different perspective, obviously, and see what I thought about it, because one of the things my friend really loved is like how you have to figure out the slang, but obviously that's not really going to be something I have to do. But I still think I'm really going to enjoy this book, and also it's very well loved by so many people. So I'm really excited to read it, and it's just a skinny little read. So that's, once again, A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. That concludes all the books that I borrowed from this one friend. I think there was about 15, like I said in the beginning. So now that I've actually gone through all of them, I definitely feel guilty for not having read them and given them back sooner. So I'm going to try to include a good amount of these in my September, October, November to be read videos, and try to give them back to the rightful owner, which unfortunately is not me. But I hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys have read any of these books and loved them, please comment down below and let me know. And as always, please comment down other book recommendations if you have any favorites and stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you have a great day. I'm gonna finish off with some coffee.